Folks, when I was coming out of high school, a lot of people told me that I shouldn't attend Ohio State University. They said, Archie, you're too small. You know, Coach Hayes, he only get those big backs, well over 200 pounds. You ought to go to a smaller school where the guys are more or less your size and you're going to get a good chance to play. Well, folks, being an athlete, I felt I knew my ability better than anyone else. So I took it as a challenge to go to Ohio State University. And I'll never forget when I reported to camp that year, I was put at the back. And that year, 1972, was the first year that freshmen were eligible to play varsity football. With that being the case, my number one goal was to make the varsity team at Ohio State because I wanted to prove to everybody who said that I couldn't play at Ohio State, I wanted to prove to them that I could play at Ohio State. Well, again, when I reported to camp that year, I was put at the back. Put at the back meant playing on the 15th. Playing on the 15th meant playing on the scout squad. Some of you know what that is. That's more or less the lead squad. I mean, we were the guys that took the beating every day in practice from the first teamers. Our job was to run the opposing team plays while the first team defense got their practice off the bus. And you talk about discouraging, I got to tell you something. It's really discouraging because for some strange reason, our first team defense seemed to know what plays we were running when we were running. So as a running back, you couldn't gain any yardage at all against that first team. Well, that year, our first game was a home game. It was against the University of Iowa. And because it was a home game, Coach Hayes, he allowed everyone to dress because he believed that if you practice for Ohio State, that you should be identified in Ohio State University uniform at a home game. And I was really happy about that because that would at least show that I was part of the team. You know, even though there were 3 number 45s out on the field that day. Well, the night before every home game, Coach Hayes, he would take the varsity away to a hotel. And we as freshmen in Missouri, we would stay in the dormitory and we'd meet up with the varsity day to game at the stadium. Well, that game against Iowa started and we were beating Iowa pretty bad. And then the fourth quarter, with a couple minutes to go in the game, Coach Hayes, he decided to give a few freshmen an opportunity. And I was one of those freshmen, and I can remember him calling me off the bench to go into the game. I remember how excited I was because this was my big chance. If I could get in the game, run for a touchdown, or maybe just make a big play, he might put me on that varsity team. Again, that was my goal. I wanted to be a part of that varsity. I wanted to prove to all the people who said I couldn't play at Ohio State, I wanted to prove to them that I could play at Ohio State. Well, I went to the game, got into the huddle. To my surprise, the first play that was called was an 18 sweep. Now, an 18 sweep, folks, was a pitch out to me around the right side. Great opportunity. We broke the huddle, lined up in the I formation. Quarterback started calling the signals. And as he started calling the signals, I got to think. I said, you know, I wonder if our offensive line is going to open up the same type of hole for me as they can open up for our other running backs to run through. Because all day long, they would make these big, huge holes for our running backs to run through. And I just wondered if they do the same thing for me. Well, the ball was snapped. And as soon as the ball was snapped, I did something that was fundamentally wrong. You see, if you're a running back and you're going to get a pitch out, one of the fundamental things that you're taught from day one is that you've got to look the ball into your hands. You've got to watch it come from the quarterback's hands right into your own hands. Well, when the ball was snapped, the first thing that I did was I focused my attention on the hole which I was going to run through. And when I looked towards that hole, folks, I was shocked. Because those guys have opened up a hole big enough you can drive a truck through. I mean, the hole is just that big. So instead of me turning back towards the quarterback and watching that ball come in my hand, I kept my eyes on that hole because I wanted to make sure it didn't go anywhere. Me with my eyes on the hole, the quarterback pitched the ball to me, the ball hit me in the hands, and I fumbled. Now, you all know Coach Hayes. You all know that he did not like fumbles. And he didn't like me that day. He took me out of the game right after that play. And as you can imagine, I was very disappointed. I felt as if I had blown my big chance. I remember going home that night, my father said something wrong with me. He asked me about it. And I told him, I said, Daddy, I don't know when I'll get another chance this year. Being a 15 tailback, being on the scout squad, being a freshman, just having fumbled. I don't know when I'll get another chance this year. Well, I'll never forget my father said, yes, you are a freshman, but you've got 4 years. What you need to do is go back out there, give it your best shot each and every day. You'll get your chance. I went back to practice that next week. I was still a 15 tailback, still on the scout squad, still taking that beating every day from the first team. But our next game was also a home game. It was against the University of North Carolina. And because it was a home game, again, everyone was allowed to dress. The night before the game, he took the varsity away to the hotel. We had dressed in reserves. We stayed in the dormitories. We met up with the varsity there here at the stadium. Game against North Carolina started, and Steve, you might remember this, North Carolina blocked the front of ours, went ahead of us 7-0. And all of a sudden, midway through the first quarter, a call from the bench called Griffin. Kept calling Griffin. Now, I knew he wasn't talking to me. I'm the 15th tailback, just calling the week before, freshman. Couldn't have been. They kept calling Griffin. And I was the only Griffin on the team at the time, so I went up to Coach Hayes. And when I went up to Coach Hayes, he grabbed me by the shoulder pad and told me to go in the tailback. Well, right then I went to run out onto the field. As I went to run out onto the field, one of my teammates called me back. Because all excited, I had forgotten to take my helmet with me. Could not believe that he had meant for me to go into the football game. After all, I was a 15 tailback. I was on the scout squad. I had fun the week before. And I was a freshman. Not many Division I coaches believed that freshmen could play Division I football at that time. All I will tell you is that I got myself together. And I went into the game. And I'll be totally honest with you. I was in a daze the whole time. And Steve can tell you that because Steve was in the game at the same time. As a matter of fact, I remember Steve Duke here telling me, Archie, run like you've never run before. Run like you've never run before. But I was in the daze the whole time. And I know that I played about 2.5 quarters because I came out of the game in the beginning of the fourth quarter. And when I came out of the game in the beginning of the fourth quarter, the 86,000 fans that were in Ohio Stadium that day, they stood up and gave me a standing ovation. And they did that because those 2.5 quarters, I had rushed for 239 yards, which at that time was Ohio State rushing record. And I want all of you to know that I will never, ever, ever, ever forget that moment. That was the most exciting moment that I ever had playing the game of football. We won't either. The most exciting moment that I ever had. And I played 23 years of football, started playing when I was 9 years old, played my last game when I was 31 years old. That was the most exciting moment. I played in 4 Rose Bowls. I played in the Super Bowl. And I played against Michigan 4 straight years and never lost to those sons of guns. But that still was the most exciting moment that I had in football. And I share that with you because I want you to know that I count that as a miracle in my life. I count it as a miracle in my life. Because the night before that game, when the varsity was away at the hotel, and we as freshmen and reserves were in the dormitory, when I prayed, as I do every night, I asked the good Lord up above to give me a chance to play that game when he gives me the chance to help me play it to the best of my ability. And he did that for me. And I'm so very, very thankful for it.